Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about random topics while I drive to work, dodging traffic. There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do go off on tangents. So I might start on one topic and then move on to the next one. So hopefully nothing I bring up will be too offensive that people start trying to riot or something. We don't need another Capitol Hill shit scenario going on. I doubt it, no one's listening. So, I do swear a lot as well, and you're going to have to excuse me this morning as well because I am sick. I don't know if you can tell. My voice is about 4 octaves lower than it should be, or usually is. But I'm going to be working anyway because that's what we do. Especially if you don't get sick leave or long service leave or paid leave of any fucking kind. So, it's either work sick or don't eat, or be homeless. Either way. If you listen to that podcast I did in the green list about working while sick, you'll understand my point of view on that. Go away, buddy. So, yeah, if my brain fizzes out today, don't worry about it. I'm not even medicated, so this should be fun. Right, my topic for driving to work today is, if you can hear me while I'm doing this, is warmth. And I'm talking about the warmth you find in a personality, not just temperature warmth, which my ASD is going, ooh, literal. It's like, no, we mean personality warmth. Now, if you've listened to the other podcast, you'll know I grew up in a hostile environment. There was not a sense of warmth, friendliness there. So anything like I understand about that, I had to learn from other people. I was not in an environment that promoted the development of it either. It was very much a survival instinct kind of Spartan, a goji, learning experience from like 5 on how to progress and survive and turn off emotions and just to get the job done, get a functionalist approach to life. And this is for, 5-year-old kids is pretty fucking hard to do. So anything like developing any sense of warmth usually came from anywhere external to that. So I learned all my sense of sort of warmth and fluffiness from either my friends or later people in the workforce or my siblings who had brought it in from their life circumstances outside of the home. Kindness, thanks to my dad's side of the family, was seen as a weakness. It put you at a liability to someone else. So that's not a good thing because it just made my dad's side of the family assholes. So, my mum's side of the family weren't as bad. My mum was pretty hardcore when it came to raising kids in a kind of violent way. But I remember my granddad Fred, the Danish Viking one. He's a lovely old man. He was like Fred Astaire. He was beautiful manners. My grandma, my Irish grandma from Galway, which was his wife, I looked up to because she presented as a strong female figure. I don't remember much about interacting with her, but I just remember, looking up to her. She never was violent with us or verbally abusive or anything like that. So there's that warmness there. My dad's side of the family was a little bit more puppet mastery. They liked the mind games. So from a young age, I was exposed to that manipulative kind of thing that goes on, where you'll try to corner people into situations so you can mind fuck them into submission. So if you've listened to my podcast about I think it was mind games or something like that in the green list, it's like mind games. I can't remember what I called it. It was something like that. You'll understand what kind of experiences I was going on with. I think it was mind games. I don't know. Or was it coercion? I don't know. My brain's fuzzy. Too sick. Let's keep going. You'll understand what kind of a background I came from with that side of things, because my granddad Bob was not the kind of person that would do anything for free. And this is where my parents got it from. So you can't ask my parents for favors without them expecting some kind of payoff for even offering, or expecting it to be held over your head, or it becoming a pissing contest, or, you know, there's no selfless giving within my family. Everything is expected to be paid back with interest if they can swindle it out of you. Nothing is ever free. And that sets you up for adults, really, because if you think about the real world, when you get out of the home, not much in life is free, which is why we hold on to things like love, like real love, because it is free. It's one of those things you can get for free. You can't buy it, you can't fake it, and people crave it so much. It's one of those freebies from the divine. But the warmth and affection that I had to develop as a teacher and as a female usually came from some external party, because my mum wasn't, she was hands-on, but it wasn't in a good way. She was a Valkyrie, man. She'll fuck you up. Her measure of worth, and I've discussed this with her since, is how much shit she could take and keep pushing forward. It's very Rocky Balboa. But then she was like taking it out on the kids. And her excuse was, I'm teaching you how to survive. It's like, but it was such an aggressive, abusive way of teaching that it actually did a lot of fucked up damage up there. In kids that weren't particularly naughty or you know, like deviant in any way. My brother was hyperactive, so his was more of a self-control situation. He had no self-control. The girls were completely subservient. None of us particularly kicked up a stink with anything, ever. But she still wanted to instill that hardness, that toughness in us, in case, you know, we met up with another version of our dad, which we did. I did. So, you know, in a way it worked out, because I had that ability to say, no, I'm not doing this one, not for another fucking 40 years. So yeah, it would have probably been better to teach us not just to survive the situation, but to also avoid it, which would have been useful. It saves a lot of damage in the process, but at the same time, I have some valuable skills because of her, I guess. You know, it's all a learning lesson, isn't it? It sucks at the time, but you grit your teeth and get through it. Much like watching the Barbie movie. What the fuck was that about? The fuck was it about? I don't. Oh my god, it's pro-feminism, and like, are you fucking high? What perverse version of feminism is this? Anyway, so I still don't know what the Ken song is about. What the fuck is it happening? I don't get it. I don't get it. I must have missed something there with my little autistic brain, because I don't. It's like, it's like, oh my god, it's a blockbuster. It's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I think you bandwagoned there. You saw pink and went, ooh, we know this product. Let's jump on board. They do that with a lot of things. But warmth in itself, I think, is incredibly valuable, because you're going to need it when you're interacting with anyone. I mean, even the most horrible of people, there's a large chance that the reason that they're so horrible is because they just haven't had any warmth from anyone, or they've had really bad interactions with anyone. Although I will say, like, developing your personality despite being treated like shit is a choice. You could turn out to be a horrible, nasty person because of the circumstances you've been through, or you could choose to go the other way. It takes an incredible amount of strength to still show kindness when you've been fucked over for the last 40 years or so, I think, because you're overriding your urges to tell people to fuck off and go fuck themselves. So that takes a hell of a lot of strength. The natural inclination is to meet abuse with anger, to be able to meet it with softness and not want to just, you know, have them suddenly removed from the planet. It takes a lot of willpower and restraint, you know? Especially when you're in a car with a bull bar. Don't ask me about these circumstances. I don't know. I have days of monk moments. We just think, what's that movie where he was having a monk moment? It was Jason Statham. And he was in prison, and it was a soccer movie. It's like the whole 9 yards, but it isn't. Football Factory. Oh, I love that movie. Oh, it's fucking hilarious. Football Factory. It's like the whole 9 yards, but the English version. But he's fucked in the head and he's in isolation, and the only time he's allowed out to play the game is to play the game, I should say, to play soccer for the prison. But he has these little mini flashbacks where he's sitting there garroting people and stuff because they pissed him off, like kicked him in the shins or something. I got a weird sense of humor. Anyway, yes, but we all have those anger moments. Do we act on them? No. Do we make them our personality? We shouldn't. Because it's counterintuitive to any kind of growth or needing to create some kind of communal sense of belonging or worth or, participation in any kind of outside environment or structure. We could sit in hermit mode forever. I mean, we're deemed to be social creatures. I feel better on my own, quite frankly, but that could be a trauma response. I find that when I interact with people, it's a very draining situation. That could be, in esoteric terms, heyoka sense. You are annoying, cyclist. In that you're constantly feeling and giving, and there's a transfer of energy constantly if you want to go into the esoteric side of things. Empaths is what I'm getting at. But like extreme empaths. Or it could be ASD, having to constantly mask tweaks and twitches, filtering out stuff, knowing that the product at the end of being au naturel with people is that they suddenly get shocked and offended. But that's half the fun. I can't wait till I get old enough to blame it on dementia. Like, say, you fucking asshole. It's okay, she's old and grumpy. Yeah, that's right. But it's strange. A lot of my warmth, well, I had a natural inclination, but it was sort of suppressed. A lot of it was suppressed. Like if you look at my baby photos, I'm always happy. My toddler photos, always happy, always beaming. But as soon as you get to around about 5 and up, you start seeing me in the photo sort of suppressed and going into myself. I'm not smiling as much, I'm not. Stuff like that. School photos, I hate school photos in general. But you can start to see the closing of the situation energetically, where everything just sort of goes into itself. And that's just because of basically adults interacting with kids. Kids are great at the start. They are very natural. They just feel their energies. They go with it. They're instinctual. They follow their intuition. You might look at them and go, you're fucking crazy. But that's because we're coming from the adult viewpoint that, we have to exist within certain parameters of behavior and code and norms and values. Kids are free range if you just let them. It's only the conditioning experience they start getting from adults that starts fucking them up mentally, emotionally, to the point where they can, become enclosed in their own sort of prison of the mind. And a lot of people will still drag that kind of mindset into adulthood. The rules and things that we learn as kids are designed to help us participate in the society that we're in, or we find ourselves in. It's usually parental influence mixed with morality, id, superego. What else? Just this norms around us, because we need to be able to fit in, and the natural state of humans is not particularly to fit in. Ooh, hello. Sorry, motorbike. The natural state of humans is to exist and find some nice berries and wander along and find a stick and keep wandering and exploring. It's an exploratory nature, and you'll find that in children. They're constantly looking for some kind of stimulus to understand or to look at, which is why you can have a 20-minute conversation about a kid finding shit on the road. Why are you pointing to this thing? It's interesting, isn't it? There's things in it. It's like, okay, all right, let's have this conversation. And that's any kind of toddler. I've had conversations about weird stuff with like 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Like they'll find weird stuff and they'll fixate on it as well. It's not just an autistic thing as well. It's kids in general. Kids with autism tend to have the more extreme version where they'll go on about it for hours and they'll try to find out every little detail they can about it. But the human nature in its most innocent form, the most unconditioned form, is exploratory. It's still looking for that, and it starts with things like touch. From babies, it's all about touch, learning as a baby is about touch. The best way you can connect with a child. As a teacher, I've got a lot of fucked up stories, but anyway, about parents. Ew. We have to know these things. Not that we want to, but we have to know these things in the background of the kids. So you can assume what I'm getting at without me actually talking about it. But touch is the first way they learn. If you go through, oh Christ, what is it? Is it Piaget or Bruner? Oh, the different senses. Like, it goes through the different senses. It starts with oral fix. It might be Freud. Actually, I think it's Freud. It goes through oral, and then it goes through physical, then it goes through visual, and then it's auditory. The stages of learning, and it builds on itself. And as we develop chronologically, we start picking up these skill sets, learning through these different senses. And then at the end, I think it's you start looking at the more abstract things, so higher order thinking and things like that. But it starts orally. So you'll find that anyone with like a oral fixation, or if anyone's missing any kind of developmental stages in their life, and that is Piaget and Bruner, because everything's built on yourself. If you start looking, like if anyone's got an oral fixation, like smoking is an extension of an oral fixation. There is a gap in the human psyche in that individual where they are feeling that particular developmental stage is not met, or there was a glitch in the development of it, and so they've resulted back to needing to comfort themselves in a semi-stimming kind of way, if you're not neurodivergent, with something in their mouth. Maybe, like me, I've got an oral fixation, I've got ASD, and I stim through various ways. Mainly gum, considering I'm single. But I'll chew gum all day, and I used to have those little sticks. I mean, that's partly because my brain didn't develop properly as an infant, because I know I had oxygen deprivation growing up, because they had to suck my lungs out in vitro. Well, long story short, I was born overdue. I had oxygen deprivation. They sucked out my lungs, and they stuck me in an egg box for a couple of weeks or something. But I wasn't breathing properly, and I had inhaled and swallowed amniotic fluid and all the extra crud that comes with it. I was overdue, they had to induce me. So from that, I got a little bit of brain damage. Although it didn't stop me achieving a lot of shit. So, fuck you, guy. But it also affected my developmental issues. Like, paired with my parents' really fucked up method of parenting, I've got an oral fixation, partly because of ASD, which is a structural thing. The blood flow, or the oxygen flow to my brain might have affected that in the developmental stages of my brain, my frontal lobe. On top of that, I've got parent issues, essentially, because they didn't provide that nurturing thing in infantile. Mouth is infantile. If you got like any kind of habits that are to do with your mouth, maybe you're overeating, or maybe you're smoking, anything to do with your mouth, like you're obsessively putting on lip gloss or something like that, you're looking for some kind of stimulation, comforting component, and it usually stems back to when you're an infant, like 3 and under. Past that, it comes down to touch. So if you don't like being physically touched, if you've got a trauma from where you are, I would say like maybe 10 to 3. If you've had a trauma that happened from like 10 to 3, it's usually you don't like being touched. Like, I got that too, I don't like being touched. But my trauma carried on way past 10. So it's like, that was an ongoing thing. That was something that never got healed. So I don't like people touching me, but at the same time, at least I can identify where it came from. When it goes into, like past touch, what is it? Visual. If you have trouble, actually anything like dyslexia and stuff like that is usually structurally a problem. It's not usually behavioral. You can't blame short-sightedness on your dad being a prick. Unless he knew he had those genetics and purposely passed them on. But no. Auditory processing could be affected by stress, overload, anything like that, especially if you've got ASD. overstimulation, my auditory processing goes way out the door. So my selective mutism, for example, I already had the predisposition for it because I was missing gaps in my formative years as a toddler. I was late understanding how to read as well because I couldn't remember the words. I got memory issues as well. I think that's partly to do with the oxygen deprivation as well. The structures didn't form properly. So I was late in reading, although I took to school like a duck to water. Weirdly, I felt safe there, so I could just go for it. I didn't really have any learning difficulties like some people did. But you know, it's all these kinds of little nitpicky things that happen in your life that are going to affect whether you develop as a warm person or as a cold person. As like me not wanting people to touch me would come across as cold, but they also don't know the trauma background, the structural issues I've got in my brain. I'm not a cold person, I'm a very warm person, but people need to show me that it's safe to be warm around them, which is why, you know, plus I don't pick up on social cues as well. So when everybody's trying to be friendly, a lot of the time it's fake friendly in order to get a foot in the door, which bugs the shit out of me. I don't do fake friendly. I do, if I'm nice, I'm nice. If I'm not nice, it's probably because you fucked up. I don't fake anything because I just think it gets in the way of progressing. You won't know where you stand because people are constantly faking the niceness or hiding anger. It's cloak and dagger shit I can't stand. If you don't know what's wrong, you can't fix it, so just fucking say what it is and fix it. It's just this bitch-assing stuff I hate. Anyway, again, that's with black and white thinking that comes with autism, so it's like, why don't you just say what you fucking mean? I hate the social cues. I hate that everyone's faking shit. So I might come across as cold because I don't like people touching me, but it doesn't take into account the amount of shit I've had done to me, plus the natural predisposition to not want people touching me. I'm a warm person, a friendly person, verbally, countenance-wise. You just won't find me touching anyone. Unless there's a kid, I'll hug a kid. I love kids, man. Because they're not malicious. They're not, you know, they're not out to get you. There's no two-facedness with kids, where people are pretending to be nice to you so they can either, steal your boyfriend, or they're jealous of you, but they'll fake be nice to you so they can sit around you and fuck with you in little subliminal mind games, which they think they're winning, but they're really fucking obvious because autistics got pattern recognition and you're fucking stupid and obvious at the same time. You know, it's like these little quirks. It's like they assume you're dumb because you're nice. But realistically, I'm being nice because the truth of the matter is, if I was allowed to let my natural state come out, with the amount of sort of fucked up stuff in my head, small as I am, female as I am, you know, physically, biological, I'd still have a fucking good go at fucking someone up. You know? It's like, I don't want it to get to that point, and you're not worth going to prison for, so I'm not wasting my time in prison because you're a fuck up. And I might be terrible at it. I might be really terrible at it because I'm small and I'm quite feminine in a way. But, you know, it's... Oh, okay. But it's I got low fuel for once. That's weird. But it's a case of just, where do you pick up your warmth from? I don't like the interactions where people are faking it. If you don't like me, then don't like me, and act accordingly. I don't care. The only thing you're trying to do is save your own face and not come across as the asshole. I know you're assholes. I can read your energy. I know you're an asshole. That could be a trauma response. That could be being a heuka. That could be fucking anything. So I can read you like a book, bitch. And I read a lot of fucking books in a day. So don't. But they think they're faking it and it's effective, and it's like, just don't do the fake shit, man. I want them to be genuinely a warm person. It's a case of, with a particular example in mind, it was a case of the person not understanding me, not seeing what I was, not knowing the background, making a knee-jerk reaction where they were jealous, dare I say it, in a vain way, they were jealous. I don't think I'm anything worth being jealous about. The amount of shit I've been through, I wouldn't inflict it on anyone. I'm sitting there going, why would you want to be like me if you knew where I came from, what's happened to me? But they saw the end result of, you know, like nice clothes or a nice car, or maybe someone I thought loved me at the time. And the interactions I made with them, and they were pissed off. And I sat there and I thought, afterwards I'm going, I don't know why you did that. It's counterintuitive. We could have been friends. You decided to go the other way. Whatever, man. I'm not going to interact and associate with someone who's like that fakeness. They didn't see all the shit that came before that split second of a fragment of a picture of our interaction. They saw the end result. And they faked it, and they turned on me. So it's like, you know what? You don't know me. This is the same problem I have with my ex-husband. 16 years he didn't bother to get to know me. And then he assumed he knew me by the end because he based his judgment on the antics of a 17-year-old girl he met at the start of our relationship. So you never took the time to understand where this could go. And that's what fucked it in the end. Because he assumed he was going to win. And his demands were going to be met because he trauma bonded me that much and he thought he knew me. But at the same time, it's not how it works. You need to go into depth into knowing someone. I won't say you should do that just to be able to manipulate someone into getting what you want, but at the same time, it's like you should know the person you're with. If you marry them, or if you want to be in a long-term, relationship with them, you should take the time to know the person, their traumas, their background, who they are as an individual, their morals. The amount of people that just, and I partly blame the consumer society as well. It's like people pick up and put down people like they're fucking tissues. It's fucked up. They're not investing in depth in people anymore before it comes to the point where it's commitment. Everyone's like, the hookup culture is just where you're using people for sex and stuff, and then you discard them when you're bored. No one's taking the time to invest. Is this person a good person? Is it for me? Does it have longevity? That instant gratification culture, which does come from consumer society, because think about the throwaway culture. Once you're done with something, like when they say things were made to last in the past, everything's disposable now. All our objects are disposable. You get bored with your car, you just get an upgrade after a year or two if you've got the money. If you don't like a particular food, just throw it away. There's lots of things we just throw away as a part of the culture we're surrounded in now. And that includes now the transfer to people. It's like, oh, you're boring me, I'm going to find someone else. Or, there's no real investment in understanding whether this person is worth starting something with because you don't bother to know them. We're so conditioned to just go, this isn't interesting anymore, I'm chucking it. Or, oh, I only want sex from that person, so that's all I'm going to bother putting in. And they'll just have to deal with it. I mean, never mind if they get emotionally invested. One-sided relationships often happen that way, and then it becomes a situationship where the person might be emotionally invested in the situation, but the other person isn't, but they're still getting the sex, so they'll fake the affection in order to keep this person on hold, on tap. And it's fucking miserable because the person who's getting lied to is being abused, essentially. And the person who's lying just to keep this one person is never fulfilled anyway, and sometimes they cheat, and sometimes they wander off, and sometimes they're knowing that they're settling, and it just sort of crumbles and implodes their whole reality because they've just stuck with this person because no one else turned up. So it pays to know who you're going to be with for the rest of your life. I mean, I would never encourage people to get married at a whim. I knew my ex-husband for 10 years before we got married. I still didn't know him by the time we got married, and I still didn't see him pulling out the wild card about having an open marriage after 16 years. And I'm going, where the fuck did this come from? I thought I knew him. So I'd done essentially the same thing he'd done to me. He didn't bother to know me. I didn't know him enough. And it just fucked up in the end. The tower came, it collapsed the whole system. So invest in knowing who you are and who they are as well, because otherwise it's going to backfire. Now, getting back to warmth, because I know I went off on a tangent then. I'm going to put the aircon on though. I got a flu. It's great. I'm unmedicated and driving. where can we find sources of warmth to emulate? And it should be, and strength as well, because you need a great deal of resilience to show warmth in these circumstances where people are generally being selfish assholes. I mean, look to people that are, I don't know about celebrities, because a lot of their shit they do is PR stunts, and they, virtue signaling for up dudes. But, look around you, there's got to be some kind of warmth somewhere, even if it's just like adopting it from an animal. Dogs are always loyal. But if you kind of, not all the behaviors, because that's how you get furries, but if you emulate some of the behavioral traits of animals like dogs, the loyalty, the compassion, the consideration they show when they know that you're not well or you're upset or something like that, you'll find like a dog will come and sit with you when you're feeling shit. It's almost like they can sense it. I'm not saying dress up like a furry. That is getting a bit weird now. That's cursed species. We used to know it as bestiality, but now apparently it's a identifier. It's like, I identify her as a squirrel. It's like, no, you just want to be into bestiality and have it socially acceptable. It's like, let's cut the shit. I identify as, like, no, you just want to fuck animals and everyone be okay with it. No. There's a reason you can't splice genes between species that way. Even the divine stepped in and went, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my god, why do you identify as a camel? If we would have given you camel parts for that. Why? I just want to get humped. What the fuck, dude? Admit that you want to conduct yourself in a bestiality kind of way, and maybe I'll give you some grace for that, but lying to themselves. I get turned on by squirrels. That's it, isn't it? Let's look at it, cut the crap. Fucking weirdos. Anyway, I've seen some weird shit, but I'm like, why are you sexualizing that horse? There were stories about women that fuck horses in the past. Usually frowned upon. I don't know, man. I don't know. People got some weird issues. So, where can we pick up our warmth from? You could, in a non-sexual way, look at the way the dogs treat their owners. Animals, pets. I find the fascinating thing that some people will treat their animals better than they treat their kids. Very strangely. It's your own species you're abhorrent to, but alternative species you'll pick up. Like, I'm kind of that way, but I'm that way because people give me the shits. Because I look at my own species and I look at what they're capable of with their conscious thought and cognitive abilities, and they're still assholes. And I'm sitting there going, you are choosing to be assholes at this point. Which just blows my mind. If it was an instinct, I'd understand. Animals have instincts. Humans have cognitive thought. They're able to reason. So why are you like this? Why are you like this? Weird. So, try and promote warmth. I'm not saying that you need to be a complete pushover. Like, I've got that do no harm, take no shit mentality, which can be a bit aggressive. And it's not a case of, if someone wrongs me, I'm going to go out and fuck them up. It's a case of, if someone wrongs me, I'm withdrawing my resources and presence and not entertaining this. It's kind of like a passive protest. These fuckers can only be assholes if you participate in their game. You don't have to. That's like an analogy I had the other day. I'm sitting there thinking, if all this war that's going on, if we all just suddenly went, nah, it would be a handful of old-ass white men screaming at each other from towers. If every soldier in the world, every civilian just went, nah, not doing this, put down guns, put down weapons, put down whatever, refuse to acknowledge them in the media, just everything, just refuse to play part in the game and the hype and all the bullshit. If we all just sat down and said, I'm not doing this. This is dumb. We've done this before and it's dumb. It would be hilarious. They'd be from their ivory towers and their bunkers. They'd be sitting there screaming at each other, and we'd be ignoring them. What are you doing? It's the same guy, same old guy trying to die. But you could just ignore them. It's like, no, let's just put it down to Granddad's got dementia. But, oh, it's my little Eloise. Hello, Eloise. She got her scooter today. But if you just put it down to Granddad's got dementia, hey, baby. Oh, I'm gonna hit the fence. Shit. Then no one gets hurt, really. Just put them aside, and when they get out of this fit of dementia-ridden rage, we can get on with our lives, right? It's a bit absurd. Passive protest. You can completely Gandhi it. Mahatma Gandhi. What did he do? We're not doing this. All right. And there was a whole movement. The only way this mindfuck carries on is because people allow it to. Strangely enough. I'm going to have to start something up because I've got to go to work. Ooh, I've got 5 minutes to get onto my duty. I've got morning duty at the same school. Try and find some warmth in your day. Don't let the bitterness of the world shit you over, man. I mean, you've seen how much shit I've gone through. I'm not a particularly nasty person. I have my days where my temper is not great, but I don't take it out on other people. I will make observations about other people's shit behavior, but I don't sit there and blast them for it and go full Karen. I'm sitting there trying to understand still what the fuck they did and why they did it. It's most of the time. Anytime like I bring up like these people in the last social group or my ex-husband or stuff like that, it's still me trying to formulate reasoning for why they did what they did. Most of the time I'm just done with it. I'm like, people are shitheads. It's like, are you angry? No, not really. People are shitheads. We're giving them a lot more intellectual credit than we should most days, because we're sitting there looking at it from our viewpoint going, why aren't you doing this completely reasonable way? And that's partly ego as well, because we're saying, I'm right, therefore you should be doing this. That's an extension of ego. That's overdeveloped ego. We shouldn't be doing that. Show some humility in that. She said hypocritically. Shut up, woman. But you know, in developing warmth, you do need to show humility. So everyone's coming from different experiences and life chances, lifestyles, life decisions. A lot of bitterness comes from unfulfilled dreams and wishes and not getting the perceived chances that everybody else did. Things like that, you know. Bitterness is a horrible thing. It's a very addicting poison as well, because you know you can use it to explain away a shitload of your bad behaviors. I had a bad childhood, therefore I act like this. My ex-boyfriend cheated on me, therefore I act like that. You can't keep using excuses to be bitter. It's to be angry all the time. It's not helpful for you, and it does poison your own, vessel, your mind, your feelings. It fucks up your interactions with others. So I'm just going to say, and I'm going to have to leave it there because I do need to go on duty. Try and find some nice warmth in a day, just personality-wise. Even if it just means isolating from everyone and trying to find internal warmth to yourself and try and give yourself some space and forgiveness for fucked up decisions you might have done. As soon as you start healing that internal side of things, maybe it will transfer out into the outside world. If you feel good about yourself, in terms of feelings and mental, stuff, self-esteem especially. A lot of people got low self-esteem and they just take it out on other people because they don't feel worthy. Hello, Ethan. That's one of my babies. He's got ASD too. Fucking love Ethan. He's hilarious. He's nuts. Have I got him today? I don't know. I think he's from Bromley or something like that. He's got that thick accent. You're like, fucking love you. But it's don't take it out on other people. Try and understand. Compassion is one of the hardest things to learn when you haven't had it. So try and find that link and give it to other people if you can. At the same time, do no harm, take no shit. If someone is being genuinely nasty to you, you don't have to be warm to them. You can say, I'm out. So you do need to put in those safeguards. So it's Tuesday. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and I'll hopefully see you Friday, I think, because I've got 2 days where I'm only 20 minutes away from my house. So there's no point doing a podcast about that. And I'll see you on Friday.